Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
We're back.
Yep, once again.
We're trying something different.
Yes.
So if you've been around the channel for any amount of time, you've noticed that when we have a conversation, it takes a while.
Yeah, we dig in for the long haul.
Yeah, partly because these things are complex. Nothing is black and white. Nothing is really simple. There's a lot of individuality in how BDSM works.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to try something to help people who might be newer to BDSM and to sort of like hit the topics that maybe you're more interested in. So we're starting a new video series. Mm-hmm. We don't know what we're going to call it yet because we never know that. But basically we're going to touch on 5, maybe up to 10 things about a specific portion of BDSM, some specific aspect of it that we think you need to know. Is it all of that topic? No.
Think of it as bullet points.
It's bullet points. And then if that topic interests you, if we have said something that you had not thought of it in that way, if you look down to the description below, there will be links to videos, to podcast episodes, to blog posts, to all the places where we've had this in-depth conversation so you can take your self-education about BDSM as far as you want to. But you'll get the main points of the things that we have found through our experience with BDSM are important things to remember, especially since they are sometimes things that get forgotten thanks to all the stereotypes. So for this first one, we are going to talk about the 5 things we think people need to know about being a dominant, whether you are a dominant or you love a dominant. These are some things to keep in mind as you begin to explore your dominant side that maybe you're not hearing in other places. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, number 1.
No one right way.
No, if you come across somebody usually on social media that says there's the right way, the true way, the real way, run.
Yeah.
They are lying to you.
Even myself, back when I first started exploring this lifestyle many, many years ago, I looked at some of these dominants and I thought, oh, I can't be dominant. This is not how I act.
Now, there are stereotypes. There are ways that many people might do something, but that does not mean that that's the way you need to do something. Part of this journey is in finding what dominance means to you, what it means to take power, to receive power, to have a submissive partner in whatever way that means for you.
I mean, it's a total spectrum from having a high protocol master-slave micromanage relationship to being a lighthearted daddy or caregiver.
And
anything in between.
And even in each of those ends of the spectrum, there are spectrums.
Yes.
So it is literally whatever works for you and the partner who consents for you to be their dominant.
Correct.
Okay. Number 2.
Black leather is not required.
If you are into black leather and you find that hot and you want to put that on, you go for it. Latex leather, we support your ability to put those things on your body.
Just wearing black or just wearing black leather does not make you a dominant.
No.
Same thing as wearing a suit.
Right. For male doms, the stereotype, no head in the picture, 3-piece suits, maybe a sexual organ hanging out somewhere. If you're into that, cool. We think that's great. But you know what? You're a dominant when you're in jeans and t-shirt. You're a dominant when you're in a sundress. You're a dominant when you're in your bathing suit. You're a dominant when you're naked because it is not the clothes that make you dominant. You don't have to wear a costume to be a dominant.
Exactly. Okay.
Number 3.
You don't have to be a sadist.
You can be. I love my sadist.
A dominant is not a sadist. You can be a dominant and a sadist. You can be a sadist. You can
be a dominant and a masochist.
Right.
You can be any damn well thing you want to be.
To be a dominant in the pure sense of the word is to be a leader, to have control, to be in a consensual power exchange.
Pain is not a requirement.
Pain is not a requirement.
If you want...
Giving pain is not a requirement.
Receiving pain. Pain does not have to be a part of your dynamic. It can be if you're into that, if you want to explore that, if you're intrigued by it. But if you're like, oh, hell no, I don't want that anywhere near me. I don't want to give pain. I don't want to receive pain. Cool. Not required.
Right.
Number 4.
Your consent matters too.
So we spend a lot of time, we personally, and then the BDSM community online and in person, talking about consent with submission.
Right.
Partly because there are a lot of bad people who take advantage of submissives and they violate their consent. And those people are not kinky, they're abusive. That is what they are. But what doesn't get talked about as much is that a dominant consents as well. You consent at the beginning of the relationship. You consent throughout the relationship. You have your own hard limits and soft limits.
Correct.
You can withdraw consent from a scene. You can safe word if you choose. You might not.
I have safe worded.
You have, and we don't necessarily call it that.
Yeah.
He stopped
but
a
I
scene.
stopped the scene
because he needed to.
Right.
I would have been perfectly happy if he'd have kept on going. I'd been like, yes, please, I'm here for more. I was actually disappointed.
Yes, she was.
When he pulled me down from the thing we were on and we were sitting on the couch and I'm coming back to myself because it was a good kinky scene. And I said, why did you stop? Then he told me.
I explained to her what was going on in my head and the things I perceived. And I was like, I could not continue this. This needed to stop.
Exactly. So while a submissive's consent is absolutely very important, and you should be gaining that consent and checking in to get that consent all the time. Right. You get to consent as well. Yes. You should not be bullied into doing something you don't really want to do. You should not be manipulated into doing things that you don't want to do. So there are submissives out there who will do that. And they are not practicing safe BDSM either. That was not the good growl. So yes, your consent in a situation, in a relationship, in all of it matters just as much. Yeah. Okay, last one, number 5. It's our big, big rule.
Communication is required.
So this goes back to, again, what we tell submissives. We tell submissives all the time, you have to talk, you have to speak up, you have to share what you are thinking, you have to let your dominant know. Guess what? So do you.
Big D's, you have to do the same thing.
And some dominants I've met, you are not one of them, thank goodness, try to do that strong, silent act, like, I don't have to say things, you just know. Or, my word is law anyway, so I'm going to make up my mind. Anyway, no. Both sides of the slash, whether it's a long-term relationship or you are just negotiating that single scene, you both have to communicate.
Exactly.
We personally believe there's only 2 rules to BDSM. 2. Consent
and communication.
Exactly. And if you don't have either of those, I don't even know what you're doing, but it's not BDSM.
I mean, our local club, one of the things that I was very impressed, it had been a while since we had been to this particular place. When you walk into the club, they have a stack of sheets, negotiation sheets, because a lot of times people will go to the club with no partner and they will meet somebody to play. Before you can play, you have to communicate what you want. So they have these very handy sheets there called negotiation sheets, and both parties sit down and work through the sheets so that you play consensually and safely.
On the other end of the spectrum, there is a thinking out there, usually from either really new dominants who just don't know enough yet, or the not so good ones. We're assuming, if you're watching us, that you're just new, not that you're not so good yet. That because you're the dominant, it's whatever you want. You don't have to say anything. Your submissive does what you tell them to do. They obey. That's what they're here to do.
Wrong answer.
You can negotiate that kind of dynamic. But even then, you still have to communicate. Your submissive is still entitled to ask questions, to get clarification, to know what you're thinking, to know what you mean. You have to talk to them too.
And there are very high protocol master-slave relationships where everything is micromanaged by the master. But before any of that occurred, it didn't just happen that the submissive walked in the door and dominant started doing that. There was a hell of a lot of communication going on and talk.
And even in a high protocol, really, really like micromanaged, I couldn't imagine it, not my thing, master-slave dynamic, they still have mechanisms built into their relationship for communication.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it doesn't stop just once you get the control, and it doesn't need to be ignored because you think you're supposed to be the strong one who, and talking about something on your mind shows weakness. Communication across all lines for every aspect of your relationship is required.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so that's our very first ever 5 things. Let's do this little short whatever. I think we did. I think we kept it. I think we hit the high points. There is so much more to dominance. There's so much more to DS. Links below if you want to dive further into this conversation, especially about communication and consent and having a DS relationship and how you can navigate that on either side of the slash.
Right.
So hopefully this was helpful, and we will see you for the next one about some other kinky topic.
Okay.
Bye.